This video is brought to you by Roll for Combat, an official Paizo actual play podcast. Join Acheron, Hap, Alhara, Riley, Darius, and the entire Circus of Wayward Wonders as they save the Starstone Isles from the dreaded extinction curse. Listen now to 3-Ring Adventure at rollforcombat.com. Hey everybody, Dave here with another Pathfinder rule reminder for you, and today we are talking about sustaining spells and how sustaining spells relates to the range of the spell, and specifically the question of can I sustain a spell even when the effect of that spell is no longer within the initial range that's listed on that spell. And the answer to that question is yes, unless the spell specifically says otherwise, then range has no effect on the sustaining of the spell. The range is for the initial casting, the first manifestation of that spell, but once that occurs and the spell has a listed duration of sustain, then you can sustain that spell even when that effect is no longer within the original listed range. So for example, Summon Animal has a range of 30 feet and a listed duration of sustained up to 1 minute. What that means is when you first cast that spell, the animal you summon will manifest within 30 feet of your casting, but once that happens, that animal is free to move beyond 30 feet from you, and you don't have to maintain 30 feet difference every single round when you sustain that spell. Likewise, spells like Safe Passage and Magic Vessel both have ranges of touch and can be sustained for up to 1 minute. The effectiveness of both of those spells would be significantly reduced if the caster had to maintain physical contact with the target of that every single round in order to sustain those two spells. But, like I mentioned earlier, there are some spells that specifically state range requirements when you sustain them. So, for example, Project Image, it specifically says when you sustain it, you must remain within range of the spell. Dancing Lights is another spell that you can sustain that specifically mentions range requirements when you do so. So again, unless it specifically says otherwise, then there is no range requirement when you are sustaining a spell. Now that is how it works rules as written, but GMs are always empowered to manage things however makes sense for them in their games. For example, in my games, I require the spell caster and the spell effect to remain on the same plane of existence. I think if something was to happen where the spell effect was moved to another plane or the caster was moved to another plane, then that would sever their ability to sustain the spells. Although there is no such limitation written into the rules, I think that makes sense. In certain situations, some GMs may require you to maintain line of sight to the effect. Again, that is in the realm of house rules, not rules as written, but just be aware that Pathfinder is a fluid game, and there are some situations that are going to only make sense for those games and those situations if you impose other restrictions, but by law, there is no range requirement to sustain a spell unless the spell says otherwise. As always, if you folks have any suggestions for future rule reminders, please let me know in the comments, and I will make sure that I leave links to relevant videos and other discussions in the description of this video. And as always, I want to make sure I thank everybody out there who supports me, whether it's through subscribing to the Patreon, leaving a comment, sharing the videos with your friends, clicking the like button, subscribing to the channel. It all adds up, and I greatly appreciate everything you folks do to support me and this channel. With that, thanks for watching, take care, and happy gaming.